Hello everyone, today I want to share a little story about my enlightenment with you. Many people know that I've undergone a spiritual awakening, but they don't know my story.
Hi everyone, my book is about to retire. The title of my book is Do Truth. I hope this book can help you solve your life game and your future life journey. During the time from when I was in kindergarten to the first year of primary school, I was sent to my nanny's house for care. The husband of that nanny, he had some aggressive actions towards me. These are all stories of the past to me. What I want to tell everyone is your divinity, to make you remember who you are, to help you shed the recognition of your human identity and role. He will use all stories to push you to remember this in the end. You are God. I also hope that everyone might follow along with my story, and then afterwards I will have the opportunity to share this part with you again.
I can share roughly my growth process to becoming enlightened, which was a path I took from childhood to adulthood. I grew up in an extremely violent environment. Presumably, after giving birth to me, my mother went through these extreme changes due to our family situation. So initially, my mother probably had some mental illness. Her mental illness was a bit like postnatal depression or perhaps even bipolar disorder. My mother started to exhibit violent behavior towards me when I was between 2 and 4 years old. For instance, she once pushed me down the stairs, scalded me with hot water, and splashed me with hydrochloric acid. It was in this way that I grew until the age of 15. In my childhood, I almost never heard my own name. My mother would simply call me an idiot. But I have a very good relationship with my mother now. To me, I just want to explain why I eventually came to this enlightenment was because I wanted to heal my original family. Since I was in the first grade, I always thought about committing suicide. Because my upbringing was such that I often had nothing to eat. I only often had school-provided lunches. When I didn't have anything to eat and was frequently being battered by my mother for an extended period of time. There was even an instance where she almost stabbed me. So at that time, I was extremely fortunate. I thought it was a divine arrangement. I was taken by a church mother to their church to grow up, and she took care of me for many years. I am immensely grateful to her and also appreciate my divine arrangement. Then when I was in my 20s, I started to feel like I wanted to heal my original family. How did I realize it? There was once when I went back home, I realized everyone was full of smiles, only I was like a resentful woman in the deep palace. It felt like no one had any sympathy for me. Then I began to consider why I was so unhappy at 22 years old. But back then, I used a very mundane method to forge ahead. It was I who started seeking the source of my inner unhappiness. I discovered it was the trauma from my original family. I always believed my mother failed me. I thought this family let me down. I believed that I suffered so much because of this family. But these were only conceptions in my mind. So I started trying to find ways to alleviate and heal myself. So I began studying psychology. Because when we're young, I would often think that it's spiritual or to do with psychology. I started learning about a thing in psychology called trauma from original family. So I began delving into this. Next, I began starting irrelevant talks with my mother. Talks about what? About her growth environment, her upbringing, how my grandmother and grandfather raised her. Later, I found that she was like me, possessing the same trauma. She just used the ways my grandmother and grandfather raised her to raise me. So it wasn't intentional. She was unconscious. Also, her mental state was extremely unstable back then. So she would treat me this way. So this was the first time I healed the wounds from my original family. Of course, this wasn't the beginning of my path to enlightenment. It was just a process. I found that healing myself was a very joyful thing. So after that, I wanted to try to delve deeper, to completely free myself from this pain. Then I went on the emotional path. People who lack love are like this. People who lack love will easily and unconsciously be attracted to people who they want to be like. That is to say, if you are very inferior, you will easily be attracted to some confident-looking people. Then if you are a very gentle person, you might be attracted to a very coarse person because you hope to live as freely as they do without restrictions. In fact, this is the same principle. We want to be what we want to become. Then we will be unconsciously attracted by such another type of ourselves. So I also stumbled on this emotional path, encountering several kinds. And after this, there might be a chance that I will publish a book and share it with everyone. Because it was so awful, I don't think this is the crux of my enlightenment. Anyway, you can imagine almost everything I have had. My worst time was my worst time. There was my worst time. I once had my ex-boyfriend. Then I got into a car accident on the way to work. And then I was hit by a big truck. As a result, I went to the hospital, got stitches, and then they confirmed that my brain was damaged. But my ex-boyfriend's response was not to take me home. He told me, I think I can't take care of you anymore. Do you want to move out? Because at that time then I felt that the worst was yet to come. Around that time, my savings were stolen. So under the circumstances of wanting to move out of his house at that time, I didn't have any savings. This was my initial feeling. My life was full of problems. So I wanted to understand why my life has so many problems. And I started wanting to find that root cause. Finally, after going through several years of relationships, I probably met these people. I realized there must be a reason, because how could I keep meeting similar people? You meet someone once, you can say it's a coincidence, but you've met them so many times, it's your certain state that has always attracted you to the same life experience. So I started to wanted to dive into spirituality, but I never had the opportunity because I didn't know what it was, what to say. I had never met other teachers until a friend of mine, he was learning Lester Lee Vinson's method called the method of release. He then shared it with me. He told me, you should check out this video, because he said to me, your life is your responsibility. Your life is full of problems. At first, I was very resistant. If you have experienced the ego state, what is the ego state? It's when you believe you're right. You believe you have no problems. You believe you are this body. You believe you are this role. You believe you're this identity. You believe you're a woman. You believe you're a worker. You believe you are this or that. This is the state of the ego, also your complete acceptance of your identity in society. Perhaps at that time I was in this state. I was very resistant, very, very resistant. Then I thought, by the time I was resisting to the end, I thought I was in great pain. Your pain is there to encourage you to continually progress towards union with the world, towards a path of union with your divinity. So all the pain encountered in life is for you. It's no coincidence, but by your own state in a higher dimension, opportunities created so you can realize you're actually a path of God. So at that time, I began to resist all the time, very resistant, very much dislike this thing that deeply convinces you, because it will tell you something. These occurrences are your problems. But as a child, I wouldn't believe I have a problem. I would think it's all someone else's problem. But my life was already in that state. Surviving was very difficult for me then. Our house then was my house. And there would be black charcoal and rope. Because any time I wanted to end my life in such a state, I decided I will try it because I have nothing to lose. So when I first came into contact with Lester Lee Vinson, during that time, I started learning his method of release. His release method. There is a long-term film. Then when I started studying, I put his handouts together. Then I started to release my own inner feelings. I found that people are unconscious. There are really a lot of beliefs that come from this world. What is the belief that comes from learning? From the time we were born, we didn't even know our names. We didn't know we were a person. We didn't know we were boys and girls. So when did we start knowing? Through education, through our mom and dad education, through the society on education, through our teacher education, through the entire education system, we end up being a whole person. We learn from the world, the rules of being human. And then we came to terms with the rules because every one of us wants to be recognized. So we will gradually come to identify ourselves as completely behind this person and then continue to forget who you really are. In fact, I came to this world to play. We are the God who created all of this. So I slowly released it in the process of practicing. I found that my thoughts could actually be let go by myself. I believe in the same feeling and idea that I have created. That's why I feel unhappy. But when I didn't agree with those ideas, I am happy. This was my first path to enlightenment. Then I practiced like this for 7 days. There was a time when I was very resistant because that's when I started to feel, so what about it? And how I learn what these things help me. This is the period of resistance of the ego. What is the ego's resistance period? It's that you don't want to do anything at first. You may even deny them. You don't think these methods will help you. In that case, I would suggest that you just rest. Go to rest, then experience some of the pains, joys, sorrows, and sorrows that are in your life when you've had enough. If you're really fed up, you'll continue to push yourself to grow because we are all through. Most of us are not yet awakened before we realize that we are God's people. We are all suffering through suffering to propel ourselves in the direction of soul unity. So your pain is never a coincidence. It's a path you have designed for yourself to be one. We all came to play and none of us had any problems. Then I will share this side today and then I will take it slowly. I will continue to share it with everyone according to my story. That's probably the most part of my life. I hope my story can inspire you. I hope you don't have a very pessimistic outlook or the feeling that I am so pitiful. I want to tell you, if I can survive like this. Being one with my divinity means that there are no problems with your life as long as you can live. The pain is really just a process. It's just a few little scrapes because you still have this life. Please touch your heart. You have nothing in your life from the moment you come out. All you have is this game opportunity, this life. When you're in pain, remember that these are accessories around you. You only got into this game until you got into it because you start to have friends and relatives. You have friends. However, your ego will make you want to control these partners to always be by your side. Then you have to know that in the process of growth, we are always losing. For example, we come from the process of kindergarten. We lost our kindergarten teachers because we are going to change to a national primary school. We will change the national primary school teacher. Elementary school teachers will be replaced by junior high school teachers. We have been experiencing different losses in our lives. It's just that in the current state, we will have a lot of things that we care about. We see it as a pity to lose because we want to have, but we are sufficient in ourselves because we are God. We are the origin of all this. We are full of everything within ourselves. We are love itself. So enlightenment is one. Remember that you are love and the journey back to normal. It's not that I became love, all you can be. It's all you are. It's not something you learned. We must always remember that we are in fact fully sufficient in ourselves. Then today I want to be on this side first because my story is too long. It has taken me 4 years to become fully one with the world. And then the story is really told like a long-term mage. Then I want to share these stories with you in segments. I also hope that my story can inspire you and let you know you really don't have any problems in life. If even I can live like this, you should be happier than God, because I am very happy now. I love everything in all the world that I have created. I found out how happy it was when I was a god. I hope you can continue to follow my story as well. We'll see you next time.